In this video lecture, we're going to take a very quick look at some basic considerations when writing or testing for loops. Okay, let's get started. Writing or testing for loops is pretty basic. What it really comes down to is making certain that your loop gets executed the proper number of times. And you've got three looping dials that need to be set properly in combination: the loop initialization, the loop condition, and the loop update. In this first example, this loop is going to get executed 5 times for the values 0 through 4, but not for I equals 5 due to this less than operator. However, this second loop is going to get executed 6 times, not 5 times, simply due to a different conditional operator being used. So make sure you are using the intended operators for your situation. Make sure that your loop is going to span the proper range of starting and ending values. One simple way of checking this as you're developing your for loop code is to simply print out the loop index for one full cycle through your for loop. Of course, don't forget to disable or remove any such diagnostic code once your loop is working, and certainly before you try to turn in your code. Of course, another great way of testing your for loop incrementally is by using the debugger to step through your for loop's execution. Here you can easily see the values of any loop indices changing as your code executes, and then there is no diagnostic output print to remove. I highly recommend giving the debugger a try at some point during your code development, or maybe if your debugging frustration finally starts to rise. If you're using for loops with strings, take care that you don't go past either end of your string. Specifically, the first character of any string is always at index 0, and the last character is always at length -1, and not simply length. The occasional exception error has a nice way of reminding us of this fact. And finally, make sure that you also test with data that causes your for loop to execute 0 times or no iterations. For example, if you have some string handling logic, make sure that at some point you also test it with an empty or 0 length string to see if you still have proper operation. Okay, that's it. Just some simple things to watch out for when you're developing or testing your own for loops.